It's Sports by the Book at the South Point Studio. Here's Jeff Parles.
Welcome in. It's Sports by the Book at the South Point Studio. I'm Jeff Parles. Happy to be with you as always. We're post-Super Bowl. Oh, you're going right to it. I didn't even bring it up. It's just empty. Alex White's off today. It's okay. We were by doing that shot. Oh, well. I do like that shot, though. It's shows how barren it is up here other than myself. That seat will be filled in about a half hour because Frank Nicotero is going to be in studio. We didn't even do a Where the Frank is Nicotero this week. We were too busy with everything that was going on last week. So Where the Frank was Nicotero upstairs. And by the way, I just want to say this real quick. The party upstairs, and of course the crowd in here was awesome, but the party upstairs, Sean, you were up there with us as well. 3 hours before kick, there was not a seat to be had. Everyone was there, ready to roll. They had their Pepsi products. They had their walking tacos. They're in great shape, which gets me excited. I'm just throwing this out there because the NCAA tournament's a little bit later this year, about a week later. Starts this year where the first four starts on the 19th. Of course, the party will go up there Thursday through Sunday, that week of March Madness. You better get there early. Games start about 9 in the morning, West Coast time, at Thursday through Sunday. Get there early. Get your seat. There's not a better place to watch the tournament games in Las Vegas than upstairs or right behind me if you're lucky enough to get one of the seats here in the sports book. But upstairs, that party, whew, it's a fun time. There every year. We'll be there this year, as always. See, that's a good promotion to start the show here today. By the way, Jerry is back from Disney World. Jerry had a great time in Disney World. And big thanks to Jerry for bringing us all Disney character gummy bears, which I don't even know if that's accurate because they're all heads of Disney characters. So it's really Disney gummies. And it did not make it 24 hours in my apartment. That's all I'll say. Shocking. A big gummy bear fan over here. On the show today, of course, Frank Nicotero, Matt Cox, three-man weave. The Weavers are back after a busy Super Bowl week of a week ago, of course. And now, it's getting into the last week of the NBA before their All-Star break. The NHL just had their All-Star break. College hoops, we're into the home stretch of things here now as well, where when we get to Matt Cox in about 10 minutes, there's one line, at least at what started at today, one of the more fascinating line moves from overnight into today, where Rutgers, we know Rutgers has been really good at home, historically speaking, playing much better basketball right now. They annihilated Wisconsin on Saturday for the third consecutive win, 78-56. That game wasn't even really that close. Now they get Northwestern at home, trying to push the win streak to 4, trying to get themselves closer and closer to the bubble. Northwestern back-to-back home wins last week against Nebraska and Penn State. Nebraska, we know, not a good road team. Penn State losing last night, not covering against Michigan State. One of the bottom teams in the conference. It was 2.5 on some overnights. Got bet quickly to 3.5. Got as high as 4.5 at some shops. Here at the South Point, never got higher than 4. Down to 3.5, which is the market low right now. Minus 190 is best money line you're going to see on Scarlet Knights as well. I did not touch this game. I get why the market's on Rutgers. Makes sense. Good home team, playing well. Hard to win on the road in the Big Ten this year. Northwestern so far on the road this year in conference play. They beat Penn State. And that's it. Lost to Illinois. Lost to Nebraska. Lost to Wisconsin. Lost to Purdue. Lost to Minnesota. It was back-to-back overtime losses in West Lafayette and Minneapolis. It is a tough task for Northwestern tonight. Now, entering today, just want to double-check what I saw earlier today on Lenardi, where, again, Lenardi has not updated his bracket since Tuesday. Northwestern in as a 9 seed. Rutgers still don't think is particularly close. They're not in the next 4 out even yet. Could move there closer with a win tonight. Tough handicap. Really tough handicap. I was saying this to our guy, Sean, and I said this, texted Alex last night with the same thing. This is a very, very difficult card tonight for a slate that has a reasonable amount of games in the college basketball way of things. Now, we know our guy Sean loves betting Tulane. They're in action tonight against SMU. SMU's a 1.5-point road favorite. That total's 159. Of course, as the Weavers have said, you don't make any money betting Tulane unders. This is a gigantic contrast of style. If you look at this one, SMU has fallen off a little bit in conference play. They've won 4 straight. They had those losses against Wichita and North Texas before that to put them on the wrong side of the bubble. Now, with Tulane, good win against North Texas on Sunday for SMU. Now with Tulane going to New Orleans, Tulane, of course, their defense suspect, to say politely. SMU, we know, excellent on defense. Try to slow you down. 357th on average possession length when they're on defense, which is super, super slow. 357th in the country. Then that means there's only 6 teams with a slower defensive tempo against. I would look tonight to possibly taking Tulane outright. Now, Tulane is not playing well. Since the win at Tulsa, the only 2 wins are against a struggling Memphis team by deuce, and they needed overtime to beat Temple last week. Lose to Memphis by 12, lose to SMU by 4, lose to Charlotte, lose to UTSA, who's terrible. It's not been a good run for Ron Hunter and company in New Orleans. And I would anticipate that this is a reasonable spot to get back on them. And again, it's always fun to talk about this team with the way that the tempo they play, the total, again, 159 in the SMU game. A little bit wild, to say the least. Keeping it in the American, North Texas and Memphis. You know, Memphis, to me, has been one of the bigger disappointments in conference play, regardless of what conference they're in. They were on the right side of the bubble and probably safely in the NCAA tournament as of January 14th. Now, they are nowhere to be found in the bracketology, incorrectly so. Losses to South Florida, Tulane, UAB, that horrible home loss to Rice earlier in the year. And they've won 3 in a row to beat Wichita, to beat Tulane, to beat Temple. I look at North Texas. Well, and North Texas, to me, is not. You look at the Ken Palm numbers, they are better in the numbers than their record shows. They're 13-10. They're not going to get an at-large bid. They'd have to win the American Conference tournament in order to get in. They also really only have one really high-end win, one top 50 Ken Palm. Oh, there we go. We haven't had that in a while. Oh, we'll just keep motoring through. We get that every blue moon in the building. But we'll just keep motoring along like everyone else at the pits is motoring along. Sean, I know you're a big fan of that going on in your headset right now. But where was I before someone decided to set the alarm off here in the South Point? North Texas and Memphis. North Texas, 1.5-point favorites tonight against Memphis. This would be a very simplistic money line play on North Texas as opposed to laying the 1.5 with the mean green. See, that was a quick alarm. That was like 30 seconds worth on that. North Texas right now, we know, great defense, slow pace. They're going to want to slow it down. Against Memphis, who's going to want to run the ball here. 22nd quickest pace team in America, the Memphis Tigers. But I would lay the money line with the North Texas mean green, laying only 1.5 or lay $1.15. I think I laid $1.15 as opposed to messing around with a 1-point final here tonight. Number 2 is in action, Purdue. Taking out Minnesota tonight in West Lafayette. 16.5. Now, this is an interesting one when we talk about a big number here. 144 to total on this as well. Purdue, of course, has won 8 straight. Their last loss was January 9th when they lost at the Huskers. Their 2 losses this year in conference came, the other one, road, Northwestern, at home undefeated. Really haven't been tested at home other than the Northwestern overtime game that they won on the last of January. Minnesota's been vastly improved I thought they were going into Big 10 play. I thought they were pretty clearly the worst team in the conference. That's not the case. Michigan is. They've won 3 of their last 4. They had the overtime win against Northwestern. They had a really nice win against Michigan. Iowa kind of sent them back to reality on Super Bowl Sunday, beating them by 5. But now we're in a. This is just one of those where I feel like this number is probably coming too large. I get why it's as big as it is. Ken Pom has this at 17. The market had this at 17 on the overnight, and they took with Minnesota. Total's been banged down 3.5 points in this game, by the way, from 147.5 to 144. Just be interesting to see where, again, for Purdue, on this winning streak, they just beat up the rival Indiana on Saturday. Kind of in a low schedule-wise here, where you get bottom-tier teams these next 4 games from the Big Ten. Minnesota, Ohio State, of course, they fired Chris Holtmann yesterday, Rutgers, and Michigan. So 4 of the bottom teams in the conference, you get back-to-back. And then you finish with Michigan State, Illinois, Wisconsin, who, again, Michigan State higher in Ken Pom than they look actual play. Wisconsin struggling right now. Illinois, to me, the second best team clearly in the Big Ten. As we get closer to the conference tournaments, there's some other games we'll get to a little bit later because big Pac-12 matchups, really nothing overly big. Utah USC is interesting and a little surprised. I know Utah's been bad on the road. A little surprised USC's even favored in that game with how they've looked of late. Stanford, Washington's intriguing, and Colorado's been bad after losing on the point spread. They're a 1.5 point favorite in Los Angeles later tonight. As we get you ready, as always, here on a Thursday as we're getting rolling here on Sports by the Book. When we come back, we will be joined by our guy, Matty Cox, of the 3-Man Weave. He has a few plays to look at, including a few games we already mentioned here tonight. Matt Cox joins us next. Sports by the Book.
South Point is also proud to provide a variety of relaxing amenities for the guests who want to be pampered. Soak up the sun and let your stress melt away in our lagoon-style paradise swimming pool. A relaxing getaway where you can bask in the desert sun and enjoy seasonal food and bar service poolside. And if you really want to escape, come to Spa Costa del Sur. From couple suites to a co-ed wet area, our spa caters to business and leisure travelers who want to unwind and elevate their senses. A visit to one of our spa's steam, sauna, or whirlpool treatment rooms will leave any guest feeling like they can take on the world. Our gaming amenities include over 60 table games and over 2,600 of the most popular slot and video poker machines. We have penny slots, including the popular Buffalo games, and real machines like Wheel of Fortune, Triple Sevens, and Megabucks. If you prefer video poker, try Deuces Wild, Double Bonus, or a variety of multi-denomination games. Or try your hand at one of the most popular casino table games in the world, Blackjack. Don't let the game intimidate you. Blackjack, also known as 21, is both easy and fun. And our dealers are always happy to assist. And the best part? Blackjack always pays 3 to 2. Next, check out the roulette tables. Roulette is one of the easiest casino games to learn, and so much fun to play. It's a favorite of both beginners and seasoned players. In addition to blackjack and roulette, our casino pit features over 60 popular table games like Baccarat, Pai Gow Poker, 3-Card Poker, Ultimate Texas Hold'em, and Mississippi Stud. So get out of your room and come join in the fun.
Welcome back in. Sports by the Book is the show. South Point Studio, the site. I'm Jeff Parles. All right, we'll bring him in after a week off away from college hoops because there was a major event here in town last week. I think the Weavers will excuse us just a little bit. But now that we're into the home stretch of the regular season in college hoops, we got to bring him in. Our guy, Matt Cox of 3-Man Weave with us right now. Matt, were you on Detroit last night as the stinkiest favorite of all time to get there, basically?
No, I was too scared of the shame that people on Twitter were getting for betting that game. So I stayed away. I actually did lean Detroit. So can I get credit for a hindsight, Monday morning quarterback winner there? I did lean toward my Titans. Good for Mike Davis, who probably needs to hang up at this point, but happy he got his first W on the year.
Yeah, my favorite part of that was the individual fans storming the court after the game. It was very, very fun.
I love that.
It was great.
The
stuff.
court stormed singular. Yeah, first time we've ever seen that. That's brilliant. One fan per win. So next win will be two fans, and then win after that will be three fans. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, Matt, before we get into tonight, I want to go a little macro with you here, because now this is the time where a lot of the casuals come in and are like, all right, it's time to bet college hoops, even though we've been going for months on end at this point. But if someone's hopping in now, what are two things that you would tell them, all right, you need to know about this 2023-2024 season so far, 3+ months in?
Yeah, not to cite the obvious, but seems like home court is worth 10 points.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not like a blanket statement across the board, but a lot of the old vintage home dog spots that seem to have deteriorated in value the last, 4 or 5 seasons, looking at some of my data here. But like this year, it's really come back strong. I'm not sure what that is. I think there's a lot of it's been attributed to the refereeing and some of these conferences specifically. Maybe it's just the fact that there's more parity in these leagues. And so when you have, teams more in the same weight class, not separated by true caliber or true coaching, that home court type of differentiator really amplifies an edge. But I think that's the one thing. Home court has been worth quite a bit this year. And then two, do not get in the way of Purdue or UConn right now. I just think those two teams are in a class of their own, with all due respect to UCLA. I'm sorry, UCLA, excuse me, Houston, and other. Looking at my 2023 KenPom page, Matt, update 2024 here. Apologies to Auburn and Houston, but I think UConn and Purdue, do not look to fade those teams at this moment. I think they're just they're on a rocket ship that don't need to be in your fade portfolio. I've gotten way too cute trying to fade Purdue and UConn in certain conference spots. It's not going well for me. So a macro advice and a micro advice for my two-part answer to your question there, Jeffrey.
Just taking UConn for a second. UConn, by the way, just annihilated DePaul last night. Poor DePaul. Just a march to the end of what has been, even by their standards, a miserable year. But the one thing with UConn, I'm just curious your thoughts on this. And look, has it been perfect? Of course not, because nothing's perfect in this racket. But when UConn has played teams they really overmatch, more so than just like, all right, they're playing Xavier or Providence, like just the normal solid Big East teams. If there may not be another spot for this, but I've liked playing UConn just the game over against these mediocre teams. Last night was a perfect example of that. Total closed 140 and a half.
Yep.
Game goes 166 because UConn put 101 on DePaul. This would be something, at least for the NCAA tournament, that you may want to keep in your back pocket. It'd probably be a 116 matchup. But that seems like a team where even though the metrics say, hey, they're going to be really good on defense still, they're going to probably put up 100 on that 16 seed they play in round 1 of the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, and I think defensively they're awesome, right? But when you're up 30, you don't exactly get down in a stance with the same zest that you would when the game was competitive. So yeah, I mean, DePaul last night, you saw that, right? Game kind of opens up into a track meet. It's just a glorified pickup game at that point. So I like that angle. DePaul, sorry, not to go on a tangent here, but just really sad vibes. Mm-hmm. Theory is that Dan Hurley put the extra hurt on DePaul in hopes of maybe jockeying for a case for his brother, who may be in the running for taking over that job, and a parachute from Arizona State to DePaul. But yeah, no, I like that angle for UConn. Because they do want to run. And I think against the better teams, they have to execute in the half court, but they're really efficient, right? Like their sets are terrific, but I think Hurley wants to run against teams that he has inferior or superior talent over, right? More possessions, extrapolate or amplify the advantage you have over a lesser team. I think that's a great angle.
Let's go to Purdue then. Purdue's in action tonight against Minnesota. Gophers have been better. Big credit to them for getting better over the last month or so. And as you mentioned, I'm a little surprised this number came as high as it did, but then you go look at Torvik and KenPom and the 17 and a half. on those sites. It's just one of those, Matt, where the brain says, "Oh, take the points with the underdog," but then when it's about, I don't know, 8 o'clock Pacific time, I'll be like, "Why did I do this to myself when Purdue wins by 23?"
I think Purdue first half is the angle you're looking at here. If you really want to be a bully better in this situation, Dawson Garcia, pretty critical player for Minnesota. He is questionable on the bogus Big Ten injury report. First conference to really unroll that this year. It's meant absolutely nothing. Coaches are just putting guys on there for no reason. But he is actually hurt, and I think on the fence of playing tonight without him, I don't think they have any chance up front to defend Edey, nor do they have any chance to exploit him on the other end. But even if he is in there, I just think Purdue, again, when they're locked in, especially at home, first half is the angle I look to back if you're looking to ride them. I think second half, we've seen them sort of take their foot off the gas. I think the Illinois game comes to mind, where Illinois stormed back in that second half to make that game way closer than it really was. So I think if you want to be a bully better here and back the Gophers with the brittle Garcia, it has to be a first half angle. Full game, I get a little bit. The back door, I think, could be ajar. That's my concern.
Let's keep it in the Big Ten. Let's go to a game that it's been interesting to see how this one has been bet, but I get why the market has played it this way. And that's Northwestern on the road tonight in Piscataway to take on Rutgers. Rutgers right now here at the South Point is a 3.5-point favorite. That's the last 3.5 that's out there. It's basically 4 like a blanket everywhere else right now. Look, I think Northwestern is underrated personally, but this is the first game without Barry, who is now out for the year with that knee injury he suffered. Rutgers are playing better. And Matt, we know this has always been a difficult place to play.
Yeah, this game is a quintessential example of the market in the current college basketball landscape. I think everyone's just so excited to go bet Rutgers with how well they've played the last couple. They got Jeremiah Williams, free of the gambling and now healthy, the gambling investigation, and then now healthy after his torn Achilles thing. And he's been a revelation to this team. Look at their 10-pound splits, top 5 in defense and bottom 200 in offense. He can actually create shots, which is like a novelty for this team. So you can see the impact he's had. I think people are betting that angle on top of the Barry injury. They were without him last game. They rally, it was a circle of the wagon type of effort. I think you start to see it come back to bite them in this matchup, Northwestern. I'm with you. I think Northwestern is disrespected in the market. They have been for probably 2 years now. I think people just think Collins is a bad coach, but they have real talent. And Boo Buie can make shots and they defend, and Nicholson up front can really protect the rim. It's a real Northwestern team. I think the stronger angle here, and I agree with the market, it's why I laid 3.5. I'd gobble up the last 3.5 if you're out there at the South Point, folks. I think Rutgers takes it to them tonight. But big picture, I'm with you. I still like Northwestern. In no way is this a fade of Northwestern. We'll see how they develop without Barry, but I think they're deep enough to right the ship, to keep it afloat, I should say, without him.
Yeah, and look, Bowie is, to me, the most underrated player in the country. People are paying attention. Know how good Boo Buie is, and we'll see. I think the Barry injury could definitely impact them in an 8-9, 7-10 game where they're probably going to get seeded. And you're right. Tonight it's more a play on Rutgers than a fade on Northwestern. It's just these home spots have been so strong so far this year. Matt Cox with us right now, 3-man weave, one of the 3 weavers, of course. Him and Kai and Jim, one of the 3 of them with us every Thursday here on the show. I want to go to the American next. Before we get to the Memphis North Texas game, I want to go to SMU and Tulane real quick because Tulane is.
Wait, Jeff. I came American ready tonight with my.
Do you want to go to FA? Do you want to go to Florida Atlantic as a 20-point favorite tonight against Temple? You have anything there?
The market. I am bleeding blue and red in the FAU variety this season, but the market seems to like them more than I do somehow. They've not been good as a favorite. Every team rises to play them, and they sort of play with their food for a lot of the games. So I think it's a huge number for a Temple team that their record's been terrible. But look at their efforts. I mean, they've been pretty competitive in almost every game they played. So I actually like the road dog here. I was this close to going to that game tonight. I will be in the building on Sunday when they go to Tampa across east to west here in the Panhandle to play South Florida, the Bulls, who have been a nice surprise this year. But yeah, no, not a good spot to lay it with FA. If anything, you can counterpunch with Temple. I think it's kind of my angle here.
Well, South Florida with no look ahead spot yesterday, they really put it on Tulsa yesterday, winning by 19. That has been for Amir Abdur-Rahim. That has been as good of a coaching job as there's been in the country this year. Yep. South Florida was They were not good in the Brian Gregory era, and now here they are with a legitimate NCAA tournament shot. They probably still need to win the American Conference tournament in order to get in because their non-con was relatively ugly. But, hey, you beat Florida Atlantic at home. You beat SMU. You got a shot there if you're the Bulls.
You beat Charlotte too. Yeah. If you get those three, if you can sweep the board there, you're in the picture all of a sudden. Yeah. I think that's a pretty tall order. I mean, there'll be dogs in all three of those games, but they'll be short dogs because I think they're legit and, they match up well with games. I really do. Because Sean Pryor, I think, people have been talking about they've already crowned Robbie Avila from Indiana State as the kid of March Madness that we're all going to fall in love with. But if South Florida can get there, I think Sean Pryor, the Pete Davidson doppelganger bad boy of college hoop, I think he has some real PR marketing runway. So we'll keep an eye on my Bulls in Tampa. But more work to do there.
Let's going back to that Tulane game real quick. I don't remember if it was you or Kai, but you don't make money betting Tulane unders this year. You now have the ultimate contrast of styles here because SMU wants to slow you down in their big-time defensive team. SMU's a 1.5-point road favorite tonight in New Orleans. Total's 159. Is there anything to be done here?
No, I think both are pretty sharp. I'm with you. You think that the way SMU plays, they do pressure you, but sometimes they press you in like a delayed suck up the shot clock fashion. And against a team like Tulane, who loves to run, they don't have a lot of depth. And I think sometimes there's points in games where they just don't have the legs to push the pace as feverishly as they'd like to. Now, defensively is where they have issues, right? And that's where I think some of those times where you're betting on a pace under, you're getting screwed with the efficiency part, swinging back against you on the over. And I don't trust Tulane's defense, even though it is unorthodox and can present problems. I just think it's been a little too soft this year for me to find. So, no, I think both are pretty sharp. Would lean Tulane maybe at home there. Desperate team, need a big win there. SMU maybe a slight sell high, but I've been kind of impressed with the Pony Express this year. So I'm not looking to fade them eagerly right now.
Let's go to that Memphis North Texas game. North Texas, if you look at the metrics, it'd be like, all right, win a few games. You can get on the right side of the bubble. Record-wise, I don't think they'll be able to get there. Memphis is, to me, one of the biggest disappointments since conference play has taken over. They're totally on the wrong side of things. They need to win the conference tournament in order to get there. Right now, it's 1.5 here. North Texas favored in Denton tonight. It's 2 in other places. But this one, you're going against the trend here of the short home favorites or short home dogs in North Texas. You're going against that, though, in this game.
Yeah, this is a fool me once, shame on you. Fool me what seems like 5 times this year I faded North Texas at home. The Super Pit's a real home court. I did give a pretty hefty home court appraisal in my handicap here. I just think Memphis is underrated again, right? Memphis has had very clear chapters in their season storybook, right? They were awesome to start, had a couple of close losses, but then they got rolling through the end of non-con, right? Like racked up some big time wins at VCU, at A&M, Clemson, Virginia, and they start off with a pretty good start, 4-0 in the AAC. They pick up Naquan Tomlin and they figure out how to play basketball, and they have to reset and rejumble the pieces. The first 3 losses to South Florida, Tulane, UAB are excusable, but then they lose at home to Rice. That was like the real head scratcher. And they barely beat Wichita State the next game. But after that game, Penny talked about how I think they found a better rotation. They tightened up the rotation and kind of just honed it on this top 7 or 8 that he really likes. And the last 2 have been pretty good. I know they won by 7 at Temple, but they were up like 20 in that game. In Tulane, they dominated for most of that game as well, won by 12. I think this is kind of another buy low opportunity for Memphis, just like you saw 2 months ago, where they were going into tough environments against really good teams and putting in pretty game efforts. And their talent's as good as anybody still. I think just with the mojo they have, I think it's a good team to back. North Texas, again, not a team I'd like to fade on the road, but I'm getting the more talented team here that's playing better. And against a really pack line, stringent type of defense, you need some high-level shot makers like Javon Quirley, like David Jones to loosen up that D. I think they just get this win tonight. Kind of a tough, back against the wall, circle the wagon type win.
Matt, before we get to Gonzaga, I do want to ask you about Colorado and UCLA real quick, just because the Buffs are a team I can't quite fully figure out. You look at what they were in non-con, and all right, they didn't really beat anyone, but all right, you lose a neutral game against Florida State in a coin flip overtime game. You lose in Fort Collins when Colorado State was at the peak of their powers. All right, so be it. Thought they had really turned the corner, and then now they've lost 3 out of their last 4, where the only win is against Arizona State, who's flailing, to put it politely, right now. Now they go on the road to UCLA, who is not any good. This kind of feels like a gotta-have-it spot for the Buffs here on the road in this LA double against 2 underachievers in UCLA and USC the next 2 games.
Yeah, problem with the Buffs is they got healthy too late, right? I think they've sort of shot themselves in the foot too many times to really have a strong at-large case at this point. But even the last 2, they've been healthier, and we would expect against Arizona, a team coming off 3 overtimes and a huge win, they would have risen to the occasion, and they give up 100 points in 74 possessions. So, I don't know. It does feel like a team that I can't, it's definitely a whack-a-mole team for me. Now they go on the road, you mentioned, to UCLA, who has been bad, but a lot better lately. Mick Cronin has this young team playing light years better than we saw when they were a punchline about a month and a half ago. So I actually think they lose tonight. This is not a team I want to back in this spot against the better coach in Mick Cronin with the way this team's playing defense. They've actually mustered up some offense, shockingly. Now against USC on the second leg of the road swing, that's where I think I'm looking to back them here, right? Against USC, who I know has talent, has upside. I think USC is more of a corpse than UCLA, even though UCLA has less talent. Just the way UCLA has been playing, I can trust them more. But with you, big picture, I think Colorado is like, the idea of Colorado is awesome. But the substance and the actuality of what we've seen, is even recently when they've had healthy bodies back, just isn't quite up to snuff. So Tad Boyle, underachiever when he has no expectations. Underachiever when he has big expectations, overachiever when he has no expectations. That's kind of the how you bet Tad Boyle formula for all you who need to write this down in your notepad going forward.
All right, before we let you go, Gonzaga on the road tonight against Loyola Marymount. This is up to 16 in this one now. Where
it keeps climbing.
Keeps climbing. I know. Look, Gonzaga, we had the Gonzaga conversation a few weeks ago where, all right, they're probably the weakest team Fuse had in a decade, but they're just coming off a gigantic win. They had the win they needed to get in Lexington against Kentucky. They win that game on Saturday. Now they're back in conference play. This kind of feels like a good spot to take the dog, doesn't it?
Great spot. That's my exact angle here. I'm not going to overthink it. I'll tell you why the market's been up to 16 from 13 on the opener. It's because LMU is the walking wounded right now. They're down 2 starters, including Charles Barkley Light, Kelly Lupepe, just a darling of a fun player there. They're also down another key guard, Dom Harris, fittingly the former Gonzaga transfer with the opportunity to seek revenge at home. I think he is doubtful for tonight. Still, there is talent on this team that Stan Johnson has out there at La La Land. I think, as we saw last season, where they played them very close. Actually, they won at the Kettle last year. They actually won that game. I think they're confident enough and they're good enough, despite some really troubling recent efforts, to rise tonight and catch Gonzaga potentially a little bit fat and happy. I think Gonzaga wins this game because they know how important it is. It's just going to be tough for the Zags team with not a ton of depth, without like that deep bench that can just keep steamrolling you with waves of bodies and possessions. I think it's a low-scoring game. I think LMU really keeps it close. So plus 16 feels like a huge mountain to climb, again, for that Gonzaga team coming from Lexington over back to the West Coast off that huge effort that kind of put them back on the right side of the bubble, or at least in bubble contention where they weren't before.
For Gonzaga, that win probably gets them off the bubble for good just because of name recognition. And also, too, more importantly,
the brand matters.
I think more importantly, too, it actually helps St. Mary's as well, who had the lackluster non-con. Now they get the win in the Kennel. Now Gonzaga has the big road win in Kentucky. I think now the WCC, which looked like it may be, hey, auto bid and that's it. Probably going to be a 2-bid league, assuming we don't get some zaniness at Orleans in a few weeks.
If you're rooting for a double bid WCC, you need Gonzaga to take care of their business in the rematch against St. Mary's last game of the year. It's March 2nd. They have to go up to St. Mary's after getting beat at home in that really weird game. Like, that was such a letdown of a game with all the hype going into it. Just had that kind of that low, disgusting, that terrible end of the game where the refs were just a disaster and the students were throwing stuff on the floor and Pew had to yell at the Kennel Club or whatever. So yeah, I hope you see a better actual basketball game. And I hope that Gonzaga wins. Because Gonzaga wins that game, I think you can basically cement a 2-bid WCC, which we all want to see, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with that. I will say I wouldn't mind if the Dons somehow won the WCC tournament. They're pretty good this year, but they're
well, 3. Yes, they are.
They will have their shots. They go to Moraga next Tuesday, and then they get Gonzaga at home the following Thursday. So, hey, crazier things have happened, but they're going to need a whole lot of help for San Francisco to sneak in the back door to get to the tournament. He's Matt Cox. Of course, you can find him with Jim Root and Kai McKeon on 3-Man Weave. On the tweets at Matty_Cox as well. Matt, pleasure as always, man. Enjoy yourself in Tampa on Sunday.
I will, and go Owls. Hoot, hoot.
Hoot, hoot. Indeed. Matt Cox, everyone. All right, when we get back, our guy, Frank Nicotero, who apparently I missed behind me. Oh, there he is. Look at that. There he is. You can't really see him. It's too dark back there. But Frank's right behind my head right now. He's going to be in that chair in about 2 minutes when we get back. Sports by the Book.
South Point is also proud to provide a variety of relaxing amenities for the guests who want to be pampered. Soak up the sun and let your stress melt away in our lagoon-style paradise swimming pool. A relaxing getaway where you can bask in the desert sun and enjoy seasonal food and bar service poolside. And if you really want to escape, come to Spa Costa del Sur. From couple suites to a co-ed wet area, our spa caters to business and leisure travelers who want to unwind and elevate their senses. A visit to one of our spa's steam, sauna, or whirlpool treatment rooms will leave any guest feeling like they can take on the world. Our gaming amenities include over 60 table games and over 2,600 of the most popular slot and video poker machines. We have penny slots, including the popular Buffalo games, and real machines like Wheel of Fortune, 777s, and Megabucks. If you prefer video poker, try Deuces Wild, Double Bonus, or a variety of multi-denomination games. Or try your hand at one of the most popular casino table games in the world, Blackjack. Don't let the game intimidate you. Blackjack, also known as 21, is both easy and fun. And our dealers are always happy to assist. And the best part? Blackjack always pays 3 to 2. Next, check out the roulette tables. Roulette is one of the easiest casino games to learn, and so much fun to play. It's a favorite of both beginners and seasoned players. In addition to blackjack and roulette, our casino pit features over 60 popular table games like Baccarat, Pai Gow Poker, 3-Card Poker, Ultimate Texas Hold'em, and Mississippi Stud. So get out of your room and come join in the fun.
Welcome back in Sports by the Book, South Point Studio. I'm Jeff Piles. And now joining us.
Oh, I'm wearing glasses.
Yeah, what's going on here? Did you go to Costco today?
I did. Funny you should say these are Costco glasses.
Oh, there we go. It's our guy, Frank Nicotero.
Yeah.
He hosts Punchlines here at this very desk from noon to 1, Monday through Friday.
I do.
And it's good to see you.
It's always good to see you, man.
Thank you for coming back.
Yes, absolutely.
It really is a big help since my lovely co-host, Alex White.
I know, our whole schedule, everything got turned up.
Is off on Thursday and Friday.
Yeah. I always liked your Friday on my show, but we're settled into the Monday, Wednesday on Punchlines.
Who knows? We could change the schedule another
It could.
time.
Who knows? Who knows? And for Lent, we gave up, I tried to give up something hard for Lent as a raised Catholic, and I am not allowed to mention the word Pittsburgh on Punchlines because I say it all the time, and it's a running thing with Jerry and it annoys Jerry.
So $5.
Every time I say Pittsburgh, I have to put $5 in the jar. And I slipped. Was it today?
Yeah, it was during my segment.
It was during. Yeah,
no, that's the goal. The next month,
you're going to try to get me.
I'm going to make sure you say it at least once.
All right. So
so what is this going towards?
Well, my idea was we put the $5 in a jar, and at the end of Lent, we take all the money and make a futures bet.
I like that.
Or there was the rumor of going out for drinks, but
that's also good.
That's always good. So
all right, we're going to put all the money. We're going to put all the money on something Pittsburgh related. The problem is the Pirates are not going to be in there.
No.
The Steelers
over win total might not be bad.
Yeah, but the baseball season will have started by the time Easter rolls around. Baseball opening. You know what day? True. You know what day opening day is this year?
I remember the first time it was a March 30th or 31st, and Frank Thomas, if I'm not mistaken,
Big Hurt.
I think the Big Hurt.
I ran into the Big Hurt last week.
I thought you said you were related to the Big Hurt.
That would have been very weird. That would not have made sense.
I believe on a road game in Seattle, he hit the first March home run in baseball history. I don't know if that's correct or not. Ryan, wherever you may be listening. Ryan, look, I think so. But anyway, yeah, baseball season's earlier because are you saying the Korean series? Is that why?
So no, forget the Korean series, which is what, the Padres and the Dodgers. Which is on March 20th, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But the actual
they've done it a few times.
American side opening day is March 28th.
Wow, yeah, it's wild.
Well, I hope the Rockies are at home.
Someday,
if the Rockies are at home, I'm rooting for snow in Denver on March 28th.
Someday it's going to be like St. Patrick's Day and someone honestly.
Well, I mean, so we talked about the in-season tournament in the NBA.
Yes.
Okay. If you're Major League Baseball, and this is, by the way, we had no intent of going this way.
Right,
but this is what makes our segments great here.
Exactly.
If you're Major League Baseball, and look, the argument is you're the only thing truly going in the summer. Yeah, the NBA is the summer league. Yeah, the NFL is omnipresent,
the
as we know.
We have the UFL.
We will have the UFL, which you'll be the number one UFL expert in the country.
I'm going to try.
But if you're Major League Baseball, wouldn't you want to explore taking the month of July and saying, hey, we're gonna play. We're gonna make it basically. I know we have to have some sort of interleague games mixed in there.
Yeah.
But wouldn't you do like, hey,
I would.
The best two records in each league will play a best of. Will come to whatever city.
Yeah.
And then we just do single elimination for the Major League Baseball Cup or something like that.
I think so. I mean, look at the interest that NBA in tournament season.
It was fun.
That was amazing. It was great. The banner, of course, is a 20th the size of a regular championship banner, but the Lakers said, screw it, we're doing it anyway, and they raised one up to the rafters. But I think anything to get interest in baseball is good. Baseball is my favorite sport since I was a kid. And you see every year, you see the numbers of, the average age of a baseball fan keeps going up. It's usually right around my current age. So you need to get kids more involved any way they can. Look, a lot of people hate the City Connect jerseys. I'm a fan. Like anything to spark interest, sales, marketing, whatever. I think it would be a great idea. July, it can't be August. It would have to be June, maybe. July, you got the All-Star game, the All-Star break. Are you scheduling the games on those off days? Maybe extend the All-Star break. But then, the games have to count, obviously, because, you're putting strain on pitching. So I don't know. I would love if there are smarter people, schedule makers that can figure it out, but I would be all for it. I think it'd be fun.
I think it'd be a lot of fun, too.
Yeah.
And for me, like, just think about this from a sports show perspective like we have here.
Sure.
Where there's only so much previewing of football that can be done.
Exactly.
Before you start recycling.
Yeah.
It would really be helpful if baseball gave us something that was better than just, look, the Home Run Derby to me is the only July event that's worth betting on.
Yeah.
Betting the game is a joke. Betting the All-Star game is a joke. I don't like betting the NBA Summer League. Some people do.
Yeah.
And I'm not a huge baseball bettor.
Right.
You are a big
I love baseball. I love betting baseball.
I like baseball too, but I'm just not. I know, as we know, being a bettor, you need to know your strengths and know your weaknesses.
Correct.
Betting baseball is fit into the, hey, this is a gigantic weakness. You shouldn't do this.
Correct.
See, even Sean agreed by throwing something on the ground in the back there.
Sean was very upset. Anything to get baseball interest going. Look, I'm more of a purist. I was against interleague play. Now I think interleague play is great. It's, I get to see, I never got to see Cal Ripken play except for an All-Star game when I was a kid. And also, the DH, I was against the DH, but boy, not seeing pitchers just fan at 3 pitches has been good for the game.
Oh, wait a second.
And last year, the changes too.
Hold on. There's one problem, though. Well, actually, now that Bartolo's retired, it's okay. But it does.
Who retired?
Bartolo Colon.
Oh, Bartolo Colon.
He was the one pitcher who was much see
hit
TV.
a homer in San Diego.
Yeah,
I believe.
that was one of the best moments in its history, in all honesty.
That is great.
But no, look, it's interesting because I don't know if you saw this. Manfred had a press conference today.
He's retiring in 5 years.
He's going to step down at the end of this term.
What is he, Leno? I'll be a big 5-year retirement. Okay,
well, whatever. The only thing that I've liked of what they've done is the pace of play stuff.
Yeah,
everything else
last
has
week
been kind of nonsense.
Last year worked great.
Even though, have you been seeing what's going on with the uniforms?
The City Connect stuff?
No,
no. The shrinking of the letters and all that?
These new uniforms.
I saw the side-by-side with Mike Trout. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Which is essentially basically George Costanza's now in charge of all the uniforms, basically.
They shrunk, yeah, right. But I saw it last night. I'm sure I saw probably the same meme or tweet or whatever. But yeah, they don't look great. And is it Nike or is it?
It's Nike and Fanatics together.
Fanatics, yeah, right.
Because Fanatics kind of has a monopoly.
They really do.
That dude, on everything.
He's been on Shark Tank. That guy. That's how rich
Michael
he is.
Rubin.
Yeah, very good.
But it's bizarre because like baseball jerseys, like they're classic, they're vintage.
Yeah.
Like they got the color blue wrong for the Cubs. Like
it's
the Mets orange looks red. Like it looked very, very bizarre. And on top of the uniform names on the back, just looking like they were made for, no disrespect to Little League baseball.
Yeah, they really are. Yeah,
they look like
small.
like Little League jerseys.
I don't know. Yeah, I was just alerted to that last night. Maybe like you, I saw it and I was like, I thought it was a joke. Then I was checking dates. I'm like, wait, are these spring training jerseys? I don't know. And baseball uniforms are, unlike football. This has been around over 100 years. Some of these uniforms, I mean, so to mess with them too much. It's a little taboo for me, but again, they'll sell a million different jerseys, but I don't like the lettering. I like the bigger letters.
Hey, going to something else here.
Yes, please.
Quick. See, we're going all over the map.
We do that when I'm on.
So I'm sure, did you do this on Punchlines, honoring the inventor of the Pop-Tart?
No, I know he passed away.
Yes.
I know he passed away.
Remember, the Pop-Tarts Bowl gave us probably the best content in the history of the studio.
And they're going to do it again next year.
And they're going to do it again next year.
Because there's two in a pack. There's two in a pack, they realized, so they're going to be two.
Oh, there's going to be two.
Yeah, because they
I didn't see that.
Had a promo afterwards. The guy was like, he goes, there's two in a pack. There's two in a pack. And he's like running through the aisles going, there's two in the pack. And it's like, stay tuned for next year. So we will have a male and female. I don't know how it's going to work, but
I'm not sure how that will work either, but that's
I'm
great.
excited already.
Well, remember, that's still one of the highlights of the 2023 calendar year, them devouring the mascot after
the Pop-Tart Bowl.
Kansas State Wildcats. Did you see basically?
But I know he passed away.
So yes, that was the point. Bill Post was the guy's name at the age of 96.
That's a good run.
Passing away.
Yeah,
inventing one of the great food items in the history of the Western Hemisphere.
And the original name was like fruit scone or scone.
Something that was not as fun as Pop-Tarts.
Something with scone or paste. It was something ridiculous. Yeah, Pop-Tarts is the winner name.
Yeah, it's a better name. Pop-Tarts. 1964 was when it was invented. What was the original name? Oh, it was the Country Squares.
Country Square. I thought there was even a different name too. There might have been
Country Squares.
Country Square. Hey,
Pop-Tarts a better name than
Pop-Tarts. Pop-Tarts amazing.
So I'll ask you this, Frank. Did you see also today that EA Sports put out?
You talking about the college football trailer?
Put out the college football.
I saw it. They don't show any. What's going to be so different? I don't.
Oh, I think it's just because it's been 12, 13 years.
It's been a long time.
It's been a long 2014 was the last edition.
Yeah, and now they can use players' names, which they never could. So that's exciting.
Who would you put on the cover of that? Would you put the Pop-Tart mascot on there?
I would go Pop-Tart. Well, who's going to be the most anticipated college? Not anticipated, but decorated or highly publicized football player
personally,
this year? Shedeur Sanders.
Personally, I would put Nick Saban on the cover.
Oh, it's a good call. Little tribute, little nod.
Just retired.
Yeah.
He is the greatest college football coach of all time.
That's a good one.
Put him on the cover. We're returning to glory with one of the greats on the cover. Yeah. I'm just curious to see how the game looks because Madden is. I don't know how often you've played Madden in the last decade.
Frank Murgy is watching right now, who you've met, my buddy from Pittsburgh. Sorry, Jerry. We used to play till the sun came up. We would look over at the window, and it was 6 a.m., and we'd have two 40-ounce beers. We actually went to the store one time and saw which 40-ounce. We were broke. We each had like $10 on our name. We would see which 40-ounce had the most alcohol content. We'd buy two each, and we'd play Madden. We'd play college football. We'd play FIFA. We only play sports. Play all night, but the college football game was one we loved because there was so many teams and so much fun. So to have the names are great. But
did you ever do the mascot matchups where you play as the mascots?
That might have been later on. We were playing early 90s.
Where the best part of it was that they had the Stanford tree in there.
Oh.
But the Stanford tree has no arms.
Is he commenting live? He would let me know. He would probably remember more.
Jerry, is there any comments
Frank
on
Murgy, I think he's watching. If there's a live comment from Frank Murgy talking about this, Frank, let us know. I don't remember playing that. We played a lot of NBA. We played a lot of college hoops. We loved college football, though. We played them all. In the college football game, we were always like, we didn't know who the players were a lot of the times, right? You know, you had to look them up. So that'll be great. But the mascots, I don't think we ever did that. But I think that Nick Saban idea is great because you never know who's going to be on a team long enough.
Yeah,
that's a great idea.
So
call the EA Sports. It's in the game.
It's in the game. It is in the game. You know, this is the first time you and I have been on the show together since the Super Bowl.
Since
finished,
Monday, or the Monday before. Yeah.
So
we spent a lot of time together.
Just throwing this out there real quick, Frank, because of course, obviously, Kansas City wins the game. There's now a dynasty on this front. I'll just ask you moving forward, and again, we still have a long way to go. The future numbers are already out here at the South Point to win the Super Bowl next year.
I think they're plus 800, and the Niners are plus 600.
Would you bet anything this early? Is there like a team that would you?
You mentioned the draft is in Detroit.
It is in Detroit, yes.
Detroit. I think the Lions are a sexy pick. They're 15-1. The Texans, do you feel like the Texans will take a step back? Like they surprised everybody?
It's interesting because in
the sophomore slump.
I said this to one of my good friends who does radio in St. Louis.
Okay.
Where those AFC South teams at the top, remember, it ended up being Indy and Houston won too because Jacksonville had obviously the unbelievable choke job.
Right. And I remember there was a guy preseason said, easiest bet. He did like a huge bet.
No, I agree with him. I thought
something.
Jacksonville was going to win the division going away, and they ended up missing the playoffs altogether. Houston and Indy both scream regression to me. But here's the thing. C.J. Stroud is already a top 10 quarterback in this league. So if Houston improves the roster at all, they're probably not a regression candidate. They may just stay static, win 10 games, maybe make the playoffs as a wild card, maybe win the division again.
Sure.
And Indy, even though they really scream regression, Anthony Richardson's coming back.
Yeah, that's exciting. And
I don't know what Anthony Richardson is. He was really fun for 4 games before he got hurt.
Yeah.
I don't know how good he really was.
I know,
but he looked every bit as good as Stroud the first month of the season.
And he had only played how many college games?
14 career starts.
Yeah, right. So that was such I thought a reach, but it looked like he has the raw talent.
So for me, Alex and I discussed this a little bit yesterday, actually, and I'll very happily bring the discussion to you here, Frank. The way that I'm looking at this going into next year.
Okay.
I don't want Kansas City should be favored. They until further notice, they should be the favorite every year.
Exactly. You got to knock out the
49ers, I think, are going to go a little backwards because they're probably going to lose Ayuk. Probably going to have to trade Ayuk.
Yeah, he already kind of said some weird
they're probably
cryptic
going to
thing.
have to trade Ayuk.
Yeah.
And Purdy, at some point, the bottom's going to fall out at some point. I don't know if it's next year or the year after, but the bottom's going to fall out. But the rest of that conference is so weak that they should be the betting favorites in that conference for sure. So that leads me to this. I don't want anything to do with Baltimore until they prove they can win big playoff games.
I know I can't talk about
Same deal
Baltimore.
with Buffalo in the way that I don't want anything to do with them. I don't think they're going to have Stephon Diggs. I think they're going to trade him anyway.
He's always disgruntled. Dallas is 15-1.
No thanks.
Yeah,
exactly. No thanks. So that brings me to 3 teams, basically. That brings me to the Cincinnati Bengals.
Okay.
Where if Joe Burrow can stay upright.
12-1.
Where here's the deal. Burrow's now played 4 seasons, okay? Got injured his rookie year, tore his ACL, but they weren't ready yet.
They weren't ready.
It was not a good team at that point.
Exactly.
And he played half the games this year. Both of those were missed playoff years for Cincinnati.
Right.
In the 2 full seasons Burrow's played 17 games, okay? Or 16 games, I should say, in 2 seasons. They made the Super Bowl. And they were 1 stupid defensive penalty away from overtime in Arrowhead.
Yeah.
And they beat Kansas City in Arrowhead.
Yeah.
If Burrow's healthy, that's the team that takes the leap back in the AFC for me.
Yeah, they just had a disastrous year.
Now Higgins is a free agent, so they're going to have to probably replace him. They probably can't pay him.
And AJ McCarron's a battle hawk now. I mean, you got to.
AJ McCarron's got more run today than he has the whole year, basically. Right? But they're the team in the NFC side that stands out the most to me. On the AFC side, excuse me. On the NFC side, it's the Green Bay Packers, where they're actually – are the Packers shorter than the Lions?
15-1 for the Green Bay, and I thought that's the same.
They're the same as Detroit.
Same, both
so
15.
Okay, so for me, Green Bay will play a weaker schedule than Detroit because they'll play a second-place schedule as opposed to a first-place schedule.
Yeah.
Jordan Love, by the end of the year, had made himself a top 10 quarterback. He's still not all the way there.
But he looked good.
He's really, really good. By the way, according to the updated numbers, Green Bay is now shorter than Detroit.
Oh, what is the update?
They're 12-1 on Green Bay. Now.
Okay.
I think that's right, personally.
Yeah.
That the Packers should be shorter than the Lions.
Ooh.
And I like LaFleur, and I just wonder with Detroit, if they don't improve their defense much, they need to improve it, I think,
That's
in a big way.
Cam Sutton is not the answer in the secondary. The Steelers let him go. Yeah, right. I mean,
but here's the thing, though, and it kind of goes back to what happened in that NFC title game, where Campbell was brutally honest with the team after, hey, we might not get back here.
Yeah.
Which, you know what, he's right.
Yeah,
it's just the nature of professional sports. Where look, you look at teams throughout history where
Dan Marino
only got to one Super Bowl.
That was it.
You go to baseball. Guess what? If the Chicago Cubs didn't win the 2016 World Series, that streak would still be going right now.
Right.
Even with how good that group was, they only made one World Series.
Yeah.
They took advantage of it.
Yeah.
You have to take advantage of the breaks that are given out in front of you.
True.
For Detroit, where you're up double digits in the NFC title game, you got to get here to Las Vegas.
Correct.
Now, Patrick Mahomes rips your heart out. Whatever. It's like the Carolina Panther team that lost to Brady, the T.O. Donovan McNabb team that lost to Brady. Like, all right, sometimes you just run into the greatest of all time at that point.
Yeah.
Or one of the greats of all time.
Sure.
And they just rip your heart out. It happens. The Bengals in the 80s against Montana twice.
Yeah.
That's sort of thing where you just run into great players.
All the Cavalier teams against Jordan. They were probably
well, I mean, that's the other example. Like look in the NBA, Stockton Malone.
Yeah,
rings.
one.
If they played in any other era, they would have probably had multiple.
Probably,
rings.
yeah.
Gary Payton and that Seattle team only made the finals one time. Why? Because they were in a Western Conference that was loaded, that had Olajuwon, and guess what? The Rockets took advantage of the two finals when Jordan wasn't.
They won both, right?
They won them both. So, like, that's the whole thing. And I just wonder for Detroit if that was the moment, and they just missed the moment. And for Green Bay, that was just the beginning. It kind of feels like it was just the beginning for Green Bay, pulling that upset against Dallas and then having a real shot. When you look at the box score, that was a coin flip game in the end, the Green Bay-San Francisco game.
Oh, yeah.
It ended up being a coin flip, even though it felt like Green Bay probably was the better team in that game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They had everything. Yeah, I mean, and Detroit fans are going to say the sky's falling right now anyway. Like, okay, we had our shot. We're going to be back to the same old Lions next year. I don't think they will. I think there's too much talent on offense. Yeah, if they can improve that defense, 15-1. And by the way, one team you totally neglected to mention, two teams, the Dolphins and the Eagles, both 18-1. Dolphins didn't beat anybody.
Nothing on I think Miami's finishing third in the East.
Behind the Bills and the Jets.
Assuming Rodgers stays
upright.
Yes.
Oh, Sean, what was that, Sean?
Yeah, if Rodgers stays upright, the Jets have a pretty conducive schedule to winning 9-10 games.
Yeah.
Key is Rodgers staying upright. And I think Miami's hard to regress, personally. Philly, who knows?
You don't know.
The talent's still there.
You don't know.
They have better coordinators now. They get Kellen Moore to be the OC and Vic Fangio to be the DC. Yeah. Massive improvements.
Yeah.
Sirianni can really be the CEO like he was 2 years ago where they were in the Super Bowl.
Correct.
Just a question of where's Jalen Hurts? Is Jalen Hurts closer to the dude we saw 2 years ago, or was he this past season?
Wasn't he dealing with a lot of injuries this year?
Injury. Maybe that ends up being what it was. But I don't know. I don't know what Jalen Hurts really. I don't know if he's a legitimate top 8 quarterback or he's a guy who's like in the mid tier.
Yeah.
One or the other. But there's a lot of talent. I'd much rather have Philly at that number than Miami, personally.
Oh yeah, I'd rather have Philly for sure.
I'd much rather
plus the NFC over the AFC.
Yeah, exactly. Again, I think Miami. Like, again, we have a whole offseason to go through.
Yep. That's going to be fun. It'll be a fun offseason.
For me, like, if you made me say, hey, Jeff, you have to pick the 7 playoff teams right now in the AFC, I wouldn't even have Miami in the 7. Personally.
I don't know.
So it's tough. Well, look, it would not shock me that all 3 wild cards that were there this year, so Cleveland, Miami, Pittsburgh, it would not shock me if all 3 of them fall out and are replaced by 3 different
unless we get Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins, Sean? Kirk Cousins?
I don't think that's happening.
The money was out there, but that would be my dream. If I could have one quarterback for 2 years, give me Kirk Cousins.
I think you're going to have Justin Fields.
I don't think so. 40 games in his career, 38 turnovers, I think.
You're going to have Justin Fields.
You're usually right, Jeff, and that scares me.
I
usually right on these football moves.
The rumblings of Tomlin really liking him. Arthur Smith's the
He
OC.
loves every Ohio State. You know how many Ohio State players we've drafted? Shazier, Cam Hayward.
Yeah.
They love Ohio State. San Antonio, they love Ohio State.
By the way, I ran into Cam Hayward at Media Row last week. What a gigantic human being.
Did he ask about me? He has no idea who I am. But I've been next to him in a function giant. They're just giant
The
guys.
one thing I will say before we get out of here today, where Jonathan Ogden, with next to Jonathan Ogden,
Yes.
who is 6'7", 300
Ridiculous.
pounds, 45 years old.
Right.
I think he could be slotted in the most left tackles.
Absolutely.
For non-NBA players,
Yes.
for NBA players are a different type of specimen.
Yeah.
They just are.
Yeah.
The amount of athleticism, the leanness, like
True.
they're just amazing, like specimens.
Yeah.
Jonathan Ogden might just be the biggest non-basketball player I've ever seen in my life.
I was in a celebrity golf tournament where I was one of my, where the guys.
You were
I
a
was
celebrity?
I was in the force. I'm like, hey, I wonder who celebrity's going to be. I'm like,
Oh, it's me.
Sorry, guys. He was there. It was here in Vegas at the starts with the sea, some private, very out in the middle of a desert, really nice golf course. Cascada, yeah. I got to play that, and I'm not even that
Great
good.
course.
It's a great course, and Jonathan Ogden was there, and he's the biggest person I've ever been.
Oh, no.
Shook his hand, and it went up to my elbow.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous just how big he is. Just insane. All right.
Thank
Good
you.
work. Thank you, Frank.
I'm going home to watch Caitlin Clark break the record.
She will do it in
She
the
will do
first
it.
quarter.
That's what it has to. She only needs 8.
She'll do it. We'll be back tomorrow. Bookmakers are here. Chris, Vinny, Jimmy, they'll be with me tomorrow, 3 to 4. Talking college hoops.
There you go.
Running it back on the Super Bowl. Who knows? We'll see what we'll do with the fellas.
So that's
tomorrow.
your foursome. I have one of the Fab Four coming in tomorrow.
That's awesome.
One of the Beatles will be here tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen.
Can't wait.
Tribute act playing the South Point this weekend.
We'll see you tomorrow. Sports by the Book, 3 o'clock.